Welcome to the both of you. Congratulations on your nominations. In the last 6 weeks, the Biden administration has embraced China, has bombed Syria, has empowered Russia and Putin, has refused to stand with Israel on the Golan Heights, and has lifted sanctions on Iranian-backed terrorists. That is not an encouraging opening for the foreign policy of this country for the next 4 years. I want to focus on a couple of those areas. Let's start with an area that should be a potential for bipartisan cooperation. It's a topic that I discussed with both of you at length in the past week, and that is Nord Stream 2. Nord Stream 2 in the last year was an incredible bipartisan victory for the United States. The pipeline was over 90% completed from Russia to Germany. Congress acted not once but twice, passing strong bipartisan sanctions. Sanctions supported by Republicans and Democrats on this committee passed it into law, and despite mountains of Russian disinformation, the pipeline ceased minutes before those sanctions were signed into law. Unfortunately, the Biden administration has been sending mixed signals, and those signals have been heard by Putin, and so Putin, after ceasing building the pipeline for a year, has gone back to building the pipeline because Putin and Russia believe the Biden administration will not hold them accountable, will allow them to complete this pipeline, which would put billions of dollars in Putin's pockets to be used against America, against Europe. The European Parliament, by the way, in December 2018, voted 433 to 105 to oppose Nord Stream 2. And in January 2021, after Putin attempted to murder Navalny, they voted again to condemn it, this time 581 to 50. Let me start with both of you. Do both of you agree that allowing Nord Stream 2 to be completed would be terrible policy for the United States?
Senator, the President of the United States, the Secretary of State have both said they oppose Nord Stream 2 and do not believe it should be completed.
Senator, that's my understanding as well. The President has said it's a bad deal.
Well, if they oppose it, they are not very effective at opposing it. Because when their administration came into office, suddenly it commenced. And to be particular, last month, the State Department transmitted a mandatory and overdue report to Congress about who is helping Putin build the pipeline. The report included one ship and its owner, which the Trump administration had already sanctioned. So it simply reiterated what the Trump administration had done. It didn't include any entities that are plainly in violation, not even the company that is actually constructing the pipeline Congress has instructed the president to sanction. Then, yesterday, the Biden administration imposed sanctions for the poisoning of Russian dissident Alexei Navalny, but those sanctions went out of their way not to touch the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. That was not an accident. Now that construction is resumed, we have precious little time. I told both of you that if the Biden administration doesn't change course, we're going to wake up in 6 months or a year, and this pipeline is going to be built because the Biden administration failed to act. And so I want to ask you, Ms. Sherman, if confirmed, will you move immediately to ensure that the Biden administration meets its mandatory obligation imposed by Congress to name and sanction all of the entities that are engaged in pipelaying activities, certification, or insurance related to Nord Stream 2?
Well, Senator, even if confirmed, I will not have the authority to make those decisions unilaterally, but I can say to you that I will do everything I possibly can to ensure that Nord Stream 2 does not go forward. And I know that the administration will welcome advice and counsel from you and from the Senate, and will move forward on everything that they can do legally to stop the pipeline.
Well, I want to be very clear so that no one in the administration is surprised. this was an incredible victory for U.S. foreign policy and an incredible loss for Putin and Russia. This sanctions legislation was supported by virtually the entirety of the committee. When we voted on it, the vote was 20-2, an overwhelming bipartisan majority. The administration has all of the tools to stop the pipeline, as evidenced by the fact that we stopped it for a year, that it worked, that we know it worked. And it has only been in the last few weeks with the new administration that Putin has felt he has the green light to go ahead. I understand that the Germans want the pipeline built, that the German government does. But going soft on Russia is a serious mistake, and once it's built, it likely is impossible to unwind. So the window and the urgency is now.
Senator, we share the sense of urgency, and I just want to say, although I'm not yet a part of the administration and won't be unless confirmed by the Senate, that I do not believe that the Biden-Harris administration has been soft on Russia in any way, shape, or form. I know we disagree where it comes to Nord Stream 2, but they are very clear, as we heard Ambassador Burns, who is, I hope, about to be confirmed to be the director of the CIA, said, and who was our ambassador to Russia, that we all should be very clear-eyed about Russia being an adversary. Secretary Blinken has spoken at length about ways in which Russia threaten our country, and I think there
Ambassador
is a
Sherman,
commitment
with
to move
all due
in
respect,
a tough way.
with all due respect, words are cheap, and so if the Biden administration wishes to not be soft on Russia, rather than saying we don't want to be soft on Russia, they could actually follow the mandatory law and stop the pipeline. The test is going to be real simple. If Putin and Europe is energy dependent on Russia because the Biden administration refused to comply with mandatory bipartisan sanctions, that will be the test, and not any political rhetoric about we're tough on Putin. If you're tough on Putin, don't give him billions of dollars. The State Department needs to file a supplemental interim report on Nord Stream 2 that sanctions every entity, and they're refusing to do so. And if this pipeline gets completed, it will be the fault of this administration. I don't want this to happen. I want that to be a bipartisan victory and a victory for the United States. You both have the opportunity to make sure that happens, and so I implore you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.